So we'll read the sonnet once and then we'll go ahead. So the sonnet is called the dual being which is inside of us. There are two beings in my single self. A Godhead watches nature from behind, at play in front with a brilliant surface elf, a time-born creature with a human mind. Tranquil and boundless like a sea or sky, the Godhead knows himself, eternity's sun. Radiant his mind and vast, his heart is free, his will is a scepter of dominion. The smaller self, by nature's passions driven, thoughtful and erring, learns his human task. All must be known, and to that greatness given, this mind and life, the mirror and the mask. As with the figure of a symbol dance, the screened omniscient plays at ignorance. So in this sonnet, first of all, the sonnet falls into two categories. We've always spoken about four categories. The four categories, I'll just put it in very short again, are firstly the lyrical sonnets, the sonnets which are full of Shringar Ras, which are very lyrical, poetic. Then the second category is the philosophical sonnets, which delve into some thought of philosophy. They are metaphysical speculations, who is God, where is God, who created this world. All that comes in the philosophical, metaphysical speculations. The third category is rigors of the path. That when we are on the spiritual path, what are the rigors, the arduous difficulties that we find in this path? And the fourth category, actual state of spiritual consciousness. Jab prapti ho gayi. So most of the sonnets that we've done have mostly come in the fourth category. कि जब प्राप्ति हो गई, जब spiritual consciousness में स्थित प्रज्ञ हो गए Sri Aurobindo, tab he wrote the divine sense, we did that, the divine hearing, the divine sight. Today we are doing the dual being. Now this falls into two categories. One is the philosophical speculation. Ki, who all are inside me? Who am I? And the rigors of the path. Because हमारा जो outer being है, that is what gives me the difficulties. And the theme of the sonnet is basically the dual being inside us. That we have inside us a dual being, which stands, firstly, there is an outer mutable personality, our body, our vital or emotional being, our mind. All this comes in that elf-like personality, which is very busy with the outer world. And the other being inside us is the immortal self within, the Atma, the soul, which is conscious. It is conscious of its divine source. It knows that it is immortal. It knows that it is the Antaratman, that it is the soul. It is the Purna, Purnamada, Purnamidam. So it is the Purna, it is the divine himself. There are two beings in my single self. So my individualized being, the poet is saying, has two components. One, which is not involved in the rough and tumble of life. Bahar kya ho raha hai, kya nahi ho raha hai, it is not involved. And that is the psychic entity, the Atman, the soul. And the other, which is very involved in what is happening outside and very busy with that is our physical being, our vital being, and our mental being. This also reminds us of the two birds at the Mundak
Yeah.
The one bird,
Yeah.
which is
The two
very
birds.
busy pecking at the food, tasting this, tasting that. This is from the Mundaka Upanishad. And very busy. What is that bird eating? Where is that bird flying? And the other bird that the Mundaka Upanishad talks about is the bird which is quiet, which is just looking like a Sakshi. Even the Gita speaks of the two Purushas, the Kshara, which is the pure, which is very busy, and the Akshara, that which is unchangeable. And the mutable Purusha is busy with the rough and tumble of life. And the immutable, which is the immortal self within, is the common underlying denominator of successive births. It is that which continues from life to life to life and waits for the outer being to grow and to evolve. So we can just take a little verse from the Bhagavad Gita so that we keep ourselves connected with the epics. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 verse 16. Dvau vimau purushaho loke kshara chakshara evacha kshara sarvani bhutani kutastho kshara uchyate. There are two Purushas, spiritual beings in this world. Now look at what Sri Aurobindo is saying, that even this outer being is a spiritual being. The Akshara, which is the changeable, the immutable, the impersonal, and which is the outer being, and the Kshara, the mutable and personal. I think इसमें उल्टा लिखा है. Sorry, the Akshara is that which is silent, which is the soul within us, the immutable and the impersonal. I'm sorry. And the Kshara, which is the outer being, the mutable and the personal. The mutable is all these existences. And the Kutastha, the Akshara, is the high-seated consciousness of the Brahmic status. And it is called the immutable, and that is the soul within us. So we continue with the poem. There are two beings in my single self. A Godhead watches nature from behind. Which is the Godhead? This soul inside us is watching nature, the Akshara outside, and it's watching it from behind, at play in front with a brilliant surface elf, a time-born creature with a human mind. So the brilliant surface elf, why has Sri Aurobindo called it the elf? Elf has always been portrayed, if you see all those Enid Blyton stories, it's a naughty little creature which keeps doing some kind of a mischief. Remember, wherever in the story there used to be an elf, it used to create some mischief somewhere or the other. So the brilliant surface elf refers to the body, the emotional being, and the mind, which are completely absorbed in the show of worldly life. And it is of great absorbing interest to them, to the body, to the emotions, and to the mind. This outside world and its big drama is really absorbs them. And it keeps the time-born creature with a human mind. It keeps this time-born creature with a human mind completely bogged down in ignorance. But what is the second line of the first stanza? A Godhead watches nature from behind. But the Godhead or Antaratman watches this play of nature from behind like a silent witness, like the Sakshi Purusha. Now, here I'd like to give you one or two very beautiful references from Sri Aurobindo. Can we have reference 2 and then reference 3? It's a beautiful poem of Sri Aurobindo called the Vedantin's Prayer. What is the Vedantin asking for? And it's a beautiful poetry. This brilliant show, cumbering the threshold of eternity, dispel. So the Vedantin is asking the divine that this brilliant show of the outer world that I see, which is hampering and hindering my growth towards the eternal, please eliminate it, O Lord. This brilliant show, cumbering the threshold of eternity, dispel. So beautiful words, no? Beautiful poetry. Reference 3, Mona ma'am. This is from Savitri, Sri Aurobindo. Unweave the stars and into silence pass. Now, what are the stars a symbol of? The stars are a symbol of that which hampers our ascent towards the infinite, towards the eternal. And now, unweave the stars. So the poet's imagination is that the stars have kind of woven a net with the warp and the weft of the stars. जैसे क्या कहते हैं हिंदी में उसको कुछ कहते हैं ना, ताना बाना, ताना और बाना जो स्टार्स का नेट है, जो चमकता हुआ नेट है. So here the poet is saying, he's praying to the divine that you please unweave this, the warp and weft of the stars, the net that the stars have made. Please unweave it so that I may have an unhindered ascent into the silence. Unweave the stars and into silence pass. Actually, the words weave and unweave, they suggest the woven net of Nama Rupa. What are we lost in? We are lost in the name, we are lost in the form of Maya Jal, which keeps us tied down in the world of ignorance. And the poet is saying, oh Lord, please unweave this net. Please open up these, जो धागे हैं ना, ताना बाना जो है इन धागों का, इस चमकते धागों का, इसको आप खोल दीजिए, जिससे I am able to move up towards the eternal, towards that silence unhindered. Should be no hindrance. And again, what we did that Kathopanishad reference, we'll do it properly now again. Beautiful words from Kathopanishad. Paranchik ani vyatrinat swayambhuhu tasmat parang pashyatina antaratman. So the self-existent himself, तो ये सब जो शो है ना, ये हमने नहीं बुनाए. The self-existence has created it. The divine has created the senses. And how has he created the senses? With outgoing tendencies. Therefore, we see the external world and we do not see the inner Atman. Kaschit dhirah pratyagatmanam ekshat avritta chakshuhu amritatvam icchan. But the dhira, the wise person, desires immortality and he turns his senses away from the world and seeking what is everlasting, seeking the immortal, Amrit. He's looking at the eternal and he realizes the Atman or self within him. So we'll just read the first stanza and then move to the second.
Anjali, that the passage read desiring immortality. It says the wise man desiring immortality.
Aspiring for immortality would be a better
I was just thinking desiring with the wrong word there. No?
It should be aspiring for immortality. So we did the first stanza. There are two beings in my single self. A Godhead watches nature from behind. At play in front with a brilliant surface elf. A time-born creature with a human mind. The Godhead behind is at play with this surface elf. And this surface elf is this body, this emotional being and this mental being, which is a time-born creature with a human mind. We all know that we are all stationed in time and we will leave within this time, right? Now we read the second stanza. Tranquil and boundless like a sea or sky, the Godhead knows himself, eternity's sun. Radiant his mind and vast, his heart as free. His will is a scepter of dominion. So in the second stanza, Sri Aurobindo is describing the Godhead, the Atman which is within us. In the third stanza, he will describe the elf, the surface being. So yeah, let's do the second stanza. Tranquil and boundless like a sea or sky, the Godhead knows himself, eternity's sun. So both sea and sky, they are suggestive of vastness, Vishalta, and calmness, Shanti. Both sea and sky, Vishalta, vastness, and calmness, Shanti. Both are the domains of Varuna. So, tranquil and boundless like a sea or sky. In Valmiki Ramayana, Sri Ram has been described, the personality of Sri Ram has been described as Dharyan Himuan Giri. And he was patient like the Himalayas. And in forgiveness, he was Kshamaya Prithvi Samam. His forgiveness was compared to the Dharya of the Prithvi. So here the divine has been described, the divine within us, tranquil and boundless, like a sea or sky. The Godhead knows himself, eternity's Son. So the Antaratman, the psychic entity within, the Atman within us, it knows its source, it knows its origin, it knows that it is the Son of immortality. Vayam Amritasya Putraha. Even Christ knew that he was the Son of God and that he was immortal. This Godhead within and behind is calm and infinite, like a sea and sky. Radiant his mind and vast, his heart is free. Radiant his mind and vast, his heart is free. The mind of this Godhead is illumined and vast. He knows his heart to be free. Generally in us, the heart is the center of the play of emotions. Don't we see that all the emotions that get tied up, जो भाव के जो धागे हैं जिससे हम बंध जाते हैं, वो सब emotions में होते हैं, heart में होते हैं. But the divine, he knows that his mind is radiant and vast, and his heart is free from any encumbrance, any tying down by the turbulences of emotions, which ordinarily affect the human heart. In fact, this Godhead watches over the play of emotions of the outer being like a silent witness. Tranquil and boundless like a sea or sky, the Godhead knows himself, eternity's Son. Radiant his mind and vast, his heart is free. His will is a scepter of dominion. Now, what is a scepter? Scepter is a symbol of royalty. There are actually 3 symbols of royalty that denote royalty. First, there is the crown. Then there is the robe. Generally, the robe or cloak, or it's called the mantles, is generally purple in color. And there is the scepter. The scepter is a highly ornamental rod, very ornamental rod. And when the king sits on the throne, he holds a scepter in his hand as a symbol of his supreme power. Now, why is the scepter used here? It is used here in terms of his will. Radiant his mind and vast, his heart is free, his will is a scepter of dominion. The psychic entity's will is like a scepter which rules over his empire. Now, what is the empire? His empire here would denote this body, this vital, and this mind. So, over this outer elf, there is a king. The king is the psychic entity seated within. And it is his will which rules over the outer being. This is the description of the Godhead behind. Then the third stanza talks about the smaller self. Should we get the poem again? The smaller self, by nature's passions driven, thoughtful and erring, learns his human task. All must be known, and to that greatness given, the mind and life, the mirror and the mask. So the psychic entity's will is like a scepter, right? Now what is happening to the smaller self? The smaller self, by nature's passion driven, the mutable outer personality, the body, the emotions, the mind, are referred to here as the smaller self. And the smaller self is affected by the strong turbulences of very powerful emotions. And we have seen that. All of us have seen that together. That we have very powerful emotions, and They're very turbulent and they drive us towards anger, towards passion, towards hurt, towards grief. So these powerful emotions, they are the passion that drives the smaller self. Thoughtful and erring learns his human task gradually through his mistakes, and by pondering over his stumbles, by pondering over the mistakes he has made, the detours he has taken, the psychic being makes the outer being conscious of his mission in the human body. The psychic being teaches slowly, gradually, and thoughtful and erring learns his human task. Then the outer being starts learning his human task कि मुझे actually क्या करना है, मैं यहाँ क्यों आया हूँ, मेरा क्या गोल है लाइफ का, am I moving towards that goal, या मैं रोजमर्रा के खाना कपड़ा रोटी रोटी कपड़ा मकान एंड एंटरटेनमेंट में ही अपना टाइम मैंने गंवा दिया, या there is something much deeper and much greater that I have to actually achieve in this life, because it is only that which will go with me to the next life. All this that is driving me, this roti, kapda, makan, and my other desires and passions, they will all be left behind. What is really going to go with me? Have I worked towards that? Thoughtful and erring learns his human task. All must be known, and to that greatness given. This mind and life, the mirror and the mask, all must be known, and to that greatness given. So we must all stand here. All could mean many things. One of the things that the word all here could mean is the divine mission in life, which must be discovered. What am I here for? And the instruments of the body, instruments of emotion, our heart, and the instruments of the mind, all of them must become willing instruments of that psychic entity, of that Godhead who's sitting inside, uske willing instruments hone. And all that we are doing, all that we are feeling, जो भाव हमारे अंदर आ रहे हैं, जो thoughts हमारे अंदर आ रहे हैं, all that we are thinking, all that we are feeling as emotions, all the actions that we are doing, all that must be offered. अंजलि में डालकर psychic entity को, इस soul को offer होने चाहिए. For what? For transformation. With the prayer, let thy will be done. Please use me as thy instrument. The smaller self by nature's passions driven, thoughtful and erring learns his human task. All must be known, and to that greatness given, this mind and life, the mirror and the mask. Sri Aurobindo says that the life or our vital actually serves as the mask, which covers, which veils the light of the Godhead within. ये जो हमारा vital being है ना, ये सबसे ज़्यादा trouble देता है. हमारा जो emotional being है, जिसके अंदर anger, jealousy, competition, greed, passion, love, hate, this is what actually covers the Godhead within. The biggest veil, the biggest covering is because of this vital being. And this serves as the mask, what covers the psychic being. On the other hand, there is the mind. The mind has the potentiality to, and it has the access to the higher light. And through the mind, we have the potentiality to mirror the light within. जो अंदर की लाइट है, वो ये माइंड के अंदर पोटेंशियलिटी है कि उसको मिरर कर सकता है. Therefore, Sri Aurobindo says, this mind and life, the mirror and the mask. Let's get the poem again. Mask refers to the outer personality, which hides the psychic entity. The last two lines. as with the figure of a cymbal dance, the screened omniscient plays at ignorance. So, just as in a cymbal dance, earlier in the courts, the court jester used to be there, and he would hold a mirror and he would hold a mask. And the dancer or the court jester would hold the mirror in one hand and cover his face with a mask with the other hand. Sometimes he would unveil himself and sometimes he would veil himself. So, similarly, the Godhead inside, the divine, the Atman, the soul, is playing a game with us, with the outer personality, in which sometimes he whispers and he can be heard. And कभी बोलते ना, हमको लगता है कि भगवान हमसे कुछ बोल रहे हैं, हमको कभी हाथ लगता है कि हम उनको सुन रहे हैं, मुझे मालूम है ईश्वर ने ये बात मुझे कही है. Because sometimes he removes the mask and he whispers, and the screen that is between him and us is torn, is rent, and we experience his presence. But mostly he remains screened, he remains veiled until the divine moment comes, जब साक्षात्कार होता है, जब वो और हम रूबरू हो जाएंगे, the moment of self-discovery. So this is what the last two lines mean. As with the figure of a cymbal dance, the screened omniscient plays at ignorance. If there are any questions, we could take them.
अंजलि जी, सॉरी टू डिस्टर्ब यू. एक बार फिर से मिरर एंड मास्क का थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन और प्लीज कर दीजिए.
मिरर एंड द मास्क, दैट्स अ थर्ड स्टैंजा. तो इसमें क्या है, दे मेंशन्ड, वी सेड दैट दिस आउटर बीइंग, दिस सरफेस एल्फ जो है, जो खोटाई करता है, बदमाशी करता है, उसमें देयर इज द बॉडी, देयर इज द लाइफ एंड देयर इज द माइंड. इन आवर हिंदी टर्म्स वी से जो अन्नमय, प्राणमय और मनोमय. है ना. मनोमय माने मन, माने माइंड, एंड प्राणमय माने हमारा जो इमोशनल वाइटल स्टेट है. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे खाली मनोमय और प्राणमय की बात हो रही है. प्राण इज जो हमारा वाइटल है, जहाँ पे सारी ये पैशन, एंगर, जेलसी, कंपटीशन, ग्रीड, ये सब कुछ लाइफ कहते हैं श्री अरबिंदो प्राणमय को. तो प्राणमय को तो बोला है कि ये तो मास्क है, और ये मास्क बन करके हमारे अंदर जो आत्मा की लाइट है, हमारे अंदर जो कृष्ण बैठे हैं, साइकिक बीइंग हमारी जो आत्मा है, उसको कवर करता है लाइफ. प्राण में उसको कवर करता है. बट जो माइंड है, जो मनोमय है, वो उसके अंदर पोटेंशियलिटी है कि वो मिरर कर सकता है इस साइकिक बीइंग को, क्योंकि माइंड कैन गो टू हायर एंड हायर लेवल्स ऑफ माइंड, and then when it's able to bring that light down, then it has the potentiality to mirror the psychic being. उसका रिफ्लेक्शन वहाँ माइंड के थ्रू हमको मिल सकता है.
Okay, thank you so much.
The mirror and the mask.
Thank you, love you.
Thank you, love you.
Anjali, just one question. Heart also, it's not only jealousy, hatred and all the negative emotions.
Oh, it's also love.
Love and everything, yeah. So should we sometimes think just from the heart or just from the mind? I mean, or it should always be the combination? What?
It should always be that the heart is offering its love and hate and joy and passion and greed and jealousy to the divine inside, and after offering it, invite him into the action or the thought or the emotion. Like suppose I'm very badly hurt by someone from whom, because of our expectations, we get hurt, right? हम expect कुछ और करते हैं, हो कुछ और रहा है उसके थ्रू, तो हम hurt feel करते हैं. अब ये hurt vital लेके बैठ जाता है, और फिर वो लाइक अ ब्रोकन रिकॉर्ड दिमाग में घूमता रहता है. बट अगर हमारी आदत हो गई है कि जो हमको ये फीलिंग आई ऑफ हर्ट, वो मैं, व्हाई शुड आई डील विद इट व्हेन आई हैव द मास्टर इनसाइड मी. तो मैंने उस हर्ट को लिया एक अंजलि में और उसको ऑफर किया, बोला तू आ गया, I am offering this hurt to you. Now you deal with it because you are the master. I am not the master. So अगर सारा joy आपका है, सारा sorrow आपका है, ये मैं आपको देती हूँ. So in everything, we have to be able to go back to the master. Neither the mind nor the heart. It has to be going back to the master. That's the only way to become a real instrument. No?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the second stanza, we are describing the psychic entity.
Yes. Yes.
And in the third stanza, we are describing the psychic being.
No, I had thought about it many times.
Okay.
And this has gone into so many discussions. 2 months back, I did this. I discussed at length with Anmol. I discussed at length with someone else. I wrote the entire notes with the psychic being, but it didn't work out as a psychic being. It worked out as the outer being. Outer being, yeah, nature.
As a prakriti.
Prakriti. Because if you see the fourth line in the first stanza, a time-born creature with a human mind. That is what gave me the clue that no, this is not the psychic being. This is just the prakriti, the outer prakriti.
Yeah, because you see, when we talk of the psychic entity, that is the sakshi. The psychic being is engaging, but it's actually not directly doing it. It's only engaging what the prakriti is doing.
The psychic being is working on both. It is sometimes looking outside and sometimes it's looking to the psychic entity. So it is engaged with both. And the divine is waiting for the psychic being to become one with the psychic entity. So there is only the psychic entity, and the psychic entity can do its entire play through the psychic being. But that takes time. And the dual being is not talking about the psychic being. My initial notes were completely on this being the psychic being, but after a lot of this and that and discussion here and there, finally I came to the decision that no, this is not the psychic being. This is the outer being.
Because actually, if you see, even that verse, Dvavimo Purusha Loke Sharas Chakshara Evacha Sharas Sarvani Kuta Mabhutani Kuta. So now I'm realizing if we are talking about Dvavimo Purusha Loke, so if we are talking of the entity and the being, but we are saying Sharas Sarvani Bhutani. That means everything is mutable. It's changeable.
Yes.
So then we're not talking of the psychic being. Then we're talking of the prakriti.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't use the word psychic being today.
No, so how can we say Dvavima Purusha Loke? How can we call it two Purushas?
Because that is the Akshara Purusha, na? अगर हमारा soul अक्षरा है, then हमारी जो outer being है वो क्षरा है ना?
हाँ, वो तो क्षरा है ही, लेकिन फिर हम उसे द्वाविमा पुरुष लोके कैसे सकते? पुरुष तो
वो भी तो पुरुष है, वो भी तो पुरुष है. It's a क्षरा Purusha.
But isn't that the Prakriti?
Prakriti is like the क्षरा Purusha only.
Oh, okay. अच्छा, क्षरा Purusha को प्रकृति भी बोल सकते हैं, क्षरा Purusha भी बोल सकते हैं.
We can go more into detail by discussing with somebody.
But because I'm getting a little confused here with this.
No, so we'll do a discussion. I'll get you and Anmol and myself on it on a phone, and let's see. We'll discuss it a little more.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but basically this is about the two, the outer being and the inner being.
Okay,
yeah. So any questions, my dear friends? It was clear? Meera, Reena, Ritu?
We are just absorbing it. We are letting it all getting absorbed.
Very nice.
Yeah, I know it again.
Yeah, one has to contemplate, on it and, think. Yeah, it's kind of literally, one has to absorb it.
Yeah, one must read it again and again in the light of what we have discussed, so as to actually get the best out of it.
Yeah, but if you understand the essence, the core of it, and not really get lost in the words, I think it's just everything is speaking of the same thing.
Absolutely. Shalini, it would be nice to see you instead of just a voice.
Yeah,
when
I know.
In the recording, no? We would love to see you in it.
So it is something like, this is what Shalini ji just said, was that you have to feel it. Is something like what Isha Upanishad said. You have to feel the verse when you're reading it rather than going into it word by word.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is that what?
We go through different phases in our life. There are certain phases in our life when we want to enter into the word, understand it more deeply, and get into the core of the words, and there are other times when we just want to get into the essence, and we don't care about the words because we want to experience the essence. And so both are right, because our development is like this, no? It's like this. So sometimes we need this and sometimes we need this.
Both.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. There's no right or wrong.
I know.
Yeah. Yogesh, all good?
Okay. All clear, Anjali. I got the sense of it, actually not going into the words, the detailed words, but definitely got the sense of it, and it was just beautiful,
Yeah,
and
it was wonderful.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali. Thank you so much.
Would everybody like to do a collective meditation every day, 7:30 to 7:50, which is the ashram's time for meditation? No, evening. Except Thursdays and Sundays. Thursdays and Sundays, the ashram does it at 7:45 to 8:15. But the other days, it is 7:30 to 7:50. It would be so nice if
Anjali, that is not dinner time. Can we take another? You said there are 3 options. No? We can take another.
Not 3 options. Where we should do it 3 times a day.
3 times. 7:30 is dinner time.
Okay, let us try for 5:30 to 6 in the morning. But if it's not too early for everybody.
5:30 to 6. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 5:30 to 6 is okay.
Yeah.
No, me. No, 7:30.
Whoever can make it.
Anjali, the moment that I wake up in the morning, the moment I wake up in the morning, I just sit for meditation. Sometimes it is 3 o'clock in the night, sometimes it's 3:30, sometimes it's 5 o'clock, Jab neend khulti, I must sit for my meditation,
Very nice.
Not time bound, but jab neend khulti hai.
Very nice. Beautiful. Okay.
So
I don't know how successful
Anjali,
I am.
I have a question.
Yes, Neetu.
You told us that this particular poem, it really, you read it and it changed your life. I mean,
that was not this one. That was the Divine Worker, which we hopefully will do next week.
I thought it was this, and I wanted to know what happened.
No, that is the Divine Worker, which for 1 year I read just one poem.
Wow. Please do it with us, Anjali.
And that led me to Kirit Uncle. I think that.
Yeah, that is why.
Yeah, that's what hopefully we'll do on Tuesday. Hopefully.
Please do it. I would love to hear that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be nice to experience it. It'll be nice to experience it.
So
what you went through it. Maybe something touches our lives also, and there is a transformation.
Your life is already touched, all of you, yaar.
Transformation is needed.
Yeah.
And that's why we all enjoyed the transformation sonnet the most. The one we did second. We did Leela. Poonam told us, let's do Leela. And then we did transformation, and we all enjoyed transformation the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are all we really want to transform. So,
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So let's just do
a
minute of gratitude to the Divine.